Welcome to Market Access Today. Please get ready to be captivated by expert insights and explore new frontiers. Traditionally, I want to thank Econics for their unconditional support. So now let's get started. At today's industry talks, Professor Dr. Mondher Toumi will be with me. Welcome, Mr. Toumi. He's a professor of public health at Aix-Marseille University and president of the Market Access Society. Medical doctor by training, he holds a Master of Science in Biostatistics, a Master of Science in Biological Sciences, a Master of Science in Pharmacology, and a PhD in Economic Sciences. He is the author or co-author of over 400 scientific publications and 13 medical and scientific books. Wow, that's a very impressive long list. Today, we are hosting him to provide more details about AI in the pharma industry and share opinions on the future direction of market access. But first, I want to give you the floor to tell us more about yourself and your career journey, please.
So you did quite a nice and flattering presentation. Thank you. I have not much to add that I have experience in academic, in decision process and industry, but also in consulting. And this is a new term in my career, but it's not a U-turn because I'm working on application of AI to market access, pricing, reimbursement, health economics, outcome research. So I still stay in my area of comfort.
Thank you for sharing your fascinating and diverse career journey with us. It looks like you have a lot on your plate. So we appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule to join us. Okay, so my first question is about AI. What may AI bring to the healthcare industry in general?
I think AI is a huge field and it may have multiple applications. And some of what we used to call data analytic or statistics is now integrated in an AI. So ultimately, it's not something new. But what is new is two dimensions. First, the computer's power that has dramatically evolved and the availability of data. We do have a lot of data, and with this fascinating computer power, we can now do multiple analysis referring to AI. And in practice, the consequence of AI is to accelerate. We're going to do similar tasks with the same precision, sometimes better precision, better quality, at a much faster speed. AI operates in a matter of seconds or minutes. The second dimension is prediction. AI allowed to do individual prediction in a much better way than all the corpus of data analysis we had available up to now. And finally, more than emerging but becoming dominant is generation. AI is becoming extremely capable in generating information, in writing text, in making summary, etc. So it's extremely effective in this field. Developing programming code for IT. So it is something really completely new that is growing extremely fast and that is surprising us every day. What we know is that AI is not human intelligence, and still human intelligence has multiple facets that AI cannot challenge.
How about the recently very famous Chat GPT? How do you see it, and how do you think it is critical for the field?
Okay, I would rather speak of large language model because Chat GPT is a large language model, and there are several other large language models. It is at the cornerstone of several of the application of AI in the field of the pharma business, but not only. Within the pharma business, it's the performance of those tools, not the tool as they are today, but the performance of those tools is applied in several fields together with basic machine learning for discovery. Discovery is an area that has been very much influenced by artificial intelligence in the commercial part to offer optimal targeting and optimal messages to the customers of pharma industry, but also in clinical trial, supporting patient selection, supporting analysis, doing clinical trial in silico. These are also very important tasks. So it's present everywhere, and it's present everywhere in the field of medicine for several years, whether it is interpretation, automatic interpretation of imaging, MRI, scanner, or more complex technique. It is in the field of supporting physician decision-making on prescription, supporting diagnostic. So it's very, very widely used, and it has impact on how drugs are going to be assessed. So it's a very important topic that is disrupting our experience and our knowledge.
Thank you. So now, shall we move on to discussing the challenges in building AI solutions?
Yeah, I believe that if we speak about the two ways to look at AI, developing tools, solutions that are going to be used to produce an outcome, and using model that you apply immediately on your data, for example. And that's two different paths. If you want to develop a solution, you're going to have 40% of the time allocated to developing the IT infrastructure in which the solution will be embedded. You often have 50% of the time to develop the database that you will use for the solution model learning, for applying machine learning methods. And then you have 10% of AI, really. So the time dedicated to apply AI solution, especially when we talk about standard machine learning, where several models exist and are ready to use, is pretty limited. The IT solution in which is going to be embedded may be complex and require a lot of effort. And creating databases when the database do not exist is a very significant effort. Of course, if you are to develop synthetic data and to do counterfactual scenario, the AI may be the most dominant part of the exercise because it's very complex techniques that require a lot of skills and expertise and combine AI and data analytic and understanding of the field in which you operate to be able to reach the outcome. It may be considered as research more than a solution.
Thank you, Mr. Toumi. Without losing pace, I would like to proceed to discuss what is AI's maturity level and perspective in health economy outcome research and pricing, reimbursement, and market access.
Okay, probably within the pharma industry, this is the part where AI is the less developed, which is not a surprise because when you look at the size of the HOR or PRMA department in the industry, they're not the biggest and they're not the one with the biggest budget. Commercial marketing do have quite large budget and a lot of resources to introduce new methodology. Discovery is unavoidable to have new molecules. And very often in pharma company, market access get involved later in the process. And the opportunity to anticipate and develop upfront this type of solution take time compared to other areas within the industry. even clinical trials are significantly ahead of market access in terms of digitalization and the use and the introduction of artificial intelligence. But it's coming fast, and it's coming in multiple fields. And it's coming differently at different level in different fields.
Can we just may discuss it a little bit more in detail, like from the systematic literature review, HTA, and maybe data analytics and modeling perspective?
Yes, maybe we take them one by one, and we try to give a high-level overview. Probably systematic literature review, SLR, is an area where the largest number of companies are developing and proposing solutions. The ideal solution would be to have all the steps of an SLR automatized. And such solution doesn't exist. And so far, the different solutions that are marketed or under development, they're focusing mostly on two aspects. One is the screening, and the other is the extraction. The screening, you have the two different aspects. One is title and abstract screening. And for some article, when you cannot make decision on title and abstract, you have to go to the full text. Title and abstract and full text is about 30% of the time dedicated to do an SLR. So this is an area where AI may save a lot of time. And then you have extraction. Extraction is about 40% of the time dedicated to perform an SLR. So title and abstract is usually taking a bit longer time than full text, but full text are also time consuming to screen. But if you start with what we can eliminate, it's the full text review in the screening process. None of the solution offer anything that is reasonable or satisfactory for full text review. However, most of the solutions are proposing title and abstract review, and they provide some performance that are, in my opinion, doubtful, because they pretend to save 40 to 90% of the time required by human to perform title and abstract review. In my experience, for all the solutions we have tested internally, and for all the discussion I'm having with people who have also tested those solutions, it's probably happening only in very specific circumstances. But if you take 100 SLR, it's very unlikely to reach this level of performance. You have several questions here. The first question is, are we going to trust a tool, or are we going to have a human check? If you perform a human check, already you can't save more than 50% of the time. And if you assume that from what is published, machine learning and human are not 100% overlapping in the outcome, then you will have area where you have more disagreement than if it is two humans doing the work. The next step is the acceptability by decision makers. They don't accept directly material performed by AI unless it's validated and endorsed by human. They don't care how you do, but at the end, a human being has to validate and endorse the responsibility. Therefore, it's not going to help for SLR that are performed for HTA organization, for example, or for regulatory organization. So you see, you may have one review done by human, one done by SLR. You may have more disagreement to resolve, and you may have to go to more full text, and full text is already quite time consuming. So I don't believe it can save substantial amount of time if you look at the SLR as a whole. You can, next step, consider how much it can help for extraction. Well, sorry, there should be another point to address in the screening. If your screening is 90% perfect, is 90% acceptable for HTA? If a human being do 5% mistakes or 10% mistakes, and this is well established, HTA know it and know how it is done and know that you may expect a rate of mistake. But today, no HTA decided on what is the level of acceptability of AI. And if you say to HTA that you have 10% mistake, they may not be happy with 10% mistake. They may be willing to target close to 0% mistake. While today they know that human beings are doing mistake and they accept human being mistake. If you bring an automated solution, they may have more expectation than for human being. Now, when it comes to extraction, I'm not aware of any solution that can do the extraction. Even a single extraction that you validate with human. They do extract a number of information. Some pretend that they can extract 80%, 85%, but extracting 80% doesn't mean anything, because what is important is the time you save in the extraction. 80% may represent less than 50% of the time, and 20% of the information may require a lot of attention of the analyst doing SLR to understand what is the right information. If you have the same outcome in overall population and several subgroups presented differently, etc., it may be confusing and difficult and take time to extract and make sure you extract the right one. And you often have to go to additional publication of the same trial to identify complementary information that you extract. And the decision to go that way or another way is quite a human decision. What those systems do, they extract some data that are usually the easiest one to extract, the fastest one to extract automatically, and then they extract sections of the text, sentences, where you're supposed to find the information. We call that snippets, and those snippets are going to help you finding the information. Our experience is that it's not always very effective, because you have the same information is available in several snippets, and you have to select the one where it's the most likely to be available, and it may not be that one. So at the same time, when you operate like that, you don't read the article or the result from the beginning to the end. And if you don't read the result from the beginning to the end, you don't have the understanding of the context. So you may waste time going back to section of the article, and it's often not doing better than using control find. This being said, I haven't tested nor work with people using those solutions in the last 18 months. And I know that those tools are progressing very fast, especially when they are based on LLM. So the tools based on LLM may have done massive progression over the last 18 months, but I doubt they may reach a level of performance that is very significant. Will those tools reach a very significant performance in the future? Yes, definitely. I'm very convinced that within 2 years, those tools will bring major time saving. But at the same time, if you don't train the tool, they will not bring this performance. So there is a need to train them. And the question is, who should pay for training the tool? Is it the client or is it the vendor of the tool who should pay for that? My impression is that most of those tools, it's the client who pays to train the tool for the benefit of the vendor. That's my impression. I think there is a solution that some of those vendors may offer is the possibility to have your own plugin. So you have your own prompt that you plug in the tool of the client. So you benefit from the whole infrastructure of the tool, you benefit from the tool prompt, but you can create and improve your own prompt. So if you work on diabetes and you have a lot of activity on diabetes, then you can easily create specific prompt associated to diabetes that will give you much better result in diabetes or in oncology or in rare disease or whatever. So I would say not yet optimal, but very promising.
Perfect. Thank you for sharing all those details. And could you please share your insights on the future direction of market access with us? How do you see the evolving landscape, key challenges, and opportunities ahead?
In relation to this SLR or in general?
Could be in general or maybe both. I would prefer both, in fact.
Okay. I think in relation with AI, I believe data analytic is probably the field where the impact is the biggest and will be bigger and bigger. When it comes to real-world evidence, we use a lot of new methodologies, a lot of new models to do patient journey analysis, to do treatment sequence analysis, patient prediction at individual level, for occurrence of event, for a specific path in the healthcare system, a specific journey. It can be widely used for predicting the best model for survival extrapolation, for causal inference, to estimate individual patient treatment effect. What is the likelihood that the patient benefit from this therapy and to which magnitude? It may be used also for indirect treatment comparison and may potentially provide better outcome than MAIC, match indirect comparison, match adjusted indirect treatment comparison. But the area where it's going to be probably the most disrupting is generation of synthetic data. I think this field is growing fast, it's capturing a lot of interest. And this is a field that is impacting multiple industries. There's some methodologies, and the one we're the most familiar with is variational autoencoders module Bayesian network, and it's called VMBN. And it's allowing to do a lot of things. You can, if you have a database that is protected and because of GDPR or because of confidentiality, because of commercial confidentiality, you cannot share the data. You can synthesize a database where none of the information the patient that is in the original database end up in the new database. But when you analyze a new database, you find exactly the same result as the original database. It can be used to generate a synthetic arm when you have single arm study. It can be used to reduce the variability in indirect treatment comparison. It can be used to do counterfactual scenario. So you can test new product that do have one specific feature and develop the whole result for the clinical trial that you may do. It can be used to mix data. You have short-term data from clinical trial, long-term data from real-world evidence, and you can combine both in one single data set. The multiplicity of solution is really almost unlimited. And you can do a great number of things with synthetic data. And I believe it's going to be very disruptive in the future. Those AI is going to help predicting HTA decision and predicting opportunity for prices, listed prices, but not net prices, because net prices are confidential and we'll never have a large enough database to predict the net prices. But there's some solution to approach the net price when you predict the listed price. Browsing database of HTA report, mining the HTA report is also a solution that is available. It's also useful for code generation. You can do code for indirect treatment comparison or for modeling, but I don't believe it's a very important feature, because deciding on the methodology is really important. Deciding on the structure of the model is very important, much more than programming a model or programming a stat method for indirect treatment comparison. And it is not something that take a lot of time in the whole process of those activities. So I'm not convinced it will change a lot. It may change a lot for HTA, as HTA may be able to program an existing model themselves and cross-check the validity of the model and do changes in the structure of the model to see how much those changes may impact the results. So on that side, yes, but on the side of the developers, I do not believe it will have significant impact. It may be used also to perform meta models, which is useful. And it may be helpful for sensitivity analysis or for generating transition probability input to the model. For sensitivity analysis, it may save a lot of time, but the process is complex and not easy to do. It's doable, but it's not a simple process. You see, there are multiplicity of opportunities to introduce AI in the field of market access, HEOR, and real-world evidence being part of it also. So you have a lot of opportunities. And when you look at that, there is a clear, opportunity to have tools that may operate both for PRMA and regulatory, because a number of things are common and the same tool may apply for both aspects and both fields. So that's for the future of AI within our field of market access, pricing, reimbursement, health economics, outcome research.
Wow, that's really very impressive. That brings us to the end of our interview today. Mr. Toumi, it has been an absolute pleasure having you with us. Before we wrap up, is there anything else you would like to add, or any upcoming projects you would like to share with our audience?
You asked me a question about the future of market access, where market access is going. I think it's continued to be increasingly technical, and we have to understand that what is important in market access is the affordability. And one good proxy of affordability is power purchase parity GDP per inhabitant. And of course, between a country that do have a GDP per inhabitant of 40,000 and a country that do have a GDP per inhabitant of 10,000, the market access is going to be very different and the availability of therapy will be very different. But of course, between 30 and 50,000, there will not be dramatic differences. But what we need to understand is that this process is dynamic, which means as long as your GDP grow every year, the amount you can allocate to pharmaceuticals and to access is going to grow every year. So you'll get more product, more expensive, more performing product. As long as your GDP flatten, it becomes more and more difficult to allocate more resources to pharmaceuticals. But if the GDP tend to go down, and if you are in recession, and when I speak in recession, I speak in recession for 5 years, 6 years, 7 years, not two successive quarters, and then you're back in growth. You will see a dramatic constraint of the state budget, of the insurer budget, and you will see very, very complicated matters. And if I look at all the macroeconomic data, and if I listen to the experts in macroeconomics, the vision is that we are already in recession in the West world. And even if GDP continues to grow, it's growing artificially through deficit and debt. We're growing the debt to maintain or slightly increase our GDP by 1%, 2%, 3% max. And it's a very inefficient way because we borrow 3 billion to put them in the economic system and we gain 1 billion of GDP growth. So we increase dramatically our debt for boosting our GDP in a very inefficient way. And as a consequence, the system will reach, at one point of time, collapse. Maybe US may avoid collapse because they are managing all the digital world, the cloud, the AI, far ahead of most of their competitors. Even though Chinese are progressing extremely fast. And in some technical, scientific area, they're even ahead of United States. But at least United States has something in its basket which may help them preventing a long-lasting recession. However, in Europe, we don't have technology. We are not leading in AI. We are not leading in cloud. We are not leading in IT. We are not leading in manufacturing. And we are not leading in services. But we are very much leading in regulation, making the regulation increasingly sophisticated and making extremely costly to overcome or to apply this regulation. So if the situation worsens, it may be very difficult to overcome. And it's not excluded that in the 5-10 coming years, European Union countries lose a substantial part of their GDP. When I say substantial part, it's 10 to 20%. But if you see that today we cannot afford to pay our bills, we borrow money every year. If we lose 10 to 20% of our GDP, that means we'll have to borrow 10 to 20% more. And it's very difficult to identify who is going to be ready to buy European bonds if the economic situation at macro level worsen that much. So as a consequence, I would say that we're certainly going to experience reduction in access, drop in prices, reduction in revenue for pharma company, and reduction in revenue for the different vendors operating for pharma companies. So we will see a very difficult situation. And I'm not sure there will be other markets that may compensate these losses because the geopolitical strategy has been to oppose region and not to bridge region. So what you may lose in one geography, you may not be able to capture it in other geography because there will be tension and conflict and wars more than bridges. And it is not very technical and specific on market access at the micro level, what I'm saying, but it will definitely impact the micro level. That's my understanding of the situation. It's not my personal interpretation, it's my analysis based on my reading. And I'm following very closely the macroeconomic situation, and I see all the signal on the red. We had an alert a couple of weeks ago, in Japan, in US, in Europe, and bigger alerts are coming according to all the experts. I hope I'm wrong, and it will not happen. But let's wait and see, and we better be ready for the worst, hoping for the best. Thank you for the opportunity.
Sure, exactly. So thank you for sharing that. Your insights on market access and AI have been incredibly valuable, and I'm sure our listeners will take away a lot from your expertise. We look forward to having you back on the show in the future. And to our listeners, thank you for tuning in. We hope you enjoyed this episode. Until next time, take care and stay curious.
I enjoyed the conversation. I thank you for the opportunity to share my appreciation of the situation. It's a very fast evolving situation, and what is true today may not be true tomorrow, but I will gladly come back tomorrow.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.